When a man does not have purpose, he is aimless. He doesn't know what to do or how to do it, and it's easy to numb with things like pornography. One of my favorite authors in the realm of sexual brokenness is Jay Stringer, and in his book Unwanted, he did some studies and research and surveys with like thousands of people. And one of the common denominators with sexual brokenness and pornography addiction was a lack of purpose. And what I want to talk about on this episode of the Secret Habit podcast is this idea of the burn and the gift, this idea of really starting to define, how did God make you? What is your purpose? Because I believe the idea behind healing from pornography addiction is much more than quitting a behavior. It's actually filling your hungry heart. It's starting to become a leader, starting to live a life that is colorful, so you don't have to escape reality anymore. Reality becomes enjoyable. You become close to the Lord and start walking in step with the Spirit. So before we do that, I just want to introduce myself. My name's Shawn Bonneteau. I coach Christian men to quit pornography, but even deeper, I love helping guys go from clarity to confidence, from confidence to freedom, removing the fear and the panic that so many guys go through when quitting pornography. It's my deepest passion to help men become mature men, not just these men who are of an age that you would say you're a man, but to really live as men of maturity, integrous leaders of their inner world that can go out and make a dent, make a difference for the kingdom in this world. So, hey, let's dive in. I've done different workshops on this idea. I've talked to many guys about this idea. This will kind of just be a crash course introduction to it. And I think I'll probably do a deeper dive into some of these topics at a later time. But this idea of the burn and the gift, I meet with guys all the time that talk about their purpose, not knowing what it is, wanting to know what it is. I talk to guys a lot who are hungry to better understand, what did God make them for? And that's a big angst for them. It's a big place of tension where they often will, at the end of the day, wonder, did they do enough? Am I good enough? And really reflecting on the day, it almost always feels like they never did enough or are never good enough. The validation they hoped for didn't come. The comfort they hoped for in some success didn't come. And they find themselves starving in their heart, starving in understanding their purpose. And it's very common for guys to relapse with pornography or masturbation because of that. Obviously, there's deeper realms into what that means to be aware of all that and to heal that. Those are things I've covered on many other episodes. That's a big part of my coaching curriculum. But what I want to do for this episode is talk about this idea of helping you get more clear on what God made you for. And it's going to be a little different than what I think most people would hear, because often what happens is people start to think about the function or the task that they want to do or feel convicted to do, like being a pastor, being a teacher, being a missionary. Those are great things to do. Please, we need solid people in those arenas. But those are like the idea of what you're going to do. You're not actually, like, when you're a pastor, you're not doing pastoring. It's kind of like when you're quitting porn. You're not like quitting porn. You're actually doing other things, and inevitably you will quit porn because you are doing other things. So when I think about this idea of what's your burn, that would be my question for you as I am speaking to you. I remember this one time talking to a friend who was going to make a move, fairly big move. He was a business owner. He thought he could make a move to a place that he used to live in. He had more better experiences there. He felt like there was a better place to do business, and there was a lot of like really good reasons why he would move. But I remember asking him, like, what bothers you about that state, that place you're going to move to? Like, what burns inside of you about the condition of that place, the church condition, things around abortion or sexual brokenness or something in the political world, or whatever it could be? Like, what do you burn for that's going to go beyond just wanting to have a successful business or a better family lifestyle? So really, with this idea of the burn, we're trying to go beyond just the function, the task, things that are enjoyable or even that you're good at, and say, what injustice do you want to fight? What injustice do you care about where like you think about it often? You can't really seem to get it off your mind. You really wish you could do something about it. I think that's an important thing as Christians to consider. Like, what injustice bothers you? Because I think that's our mission as Christians in many ways, is to fight injustice through activism, through prayer, through ministry. So that's going to be huge, right? Like for me, I'm a porn recovery coach. I love discipling men. There's a lot of things I really enjoy doing. People have asked me, am I a missionary? Because I live in the Czech Republic. I'm a porn recovery coach. I've spoken, I've written all these things. But my burn isn't to be a porn recovery coach or to be a missionary. Some of my burns would be to like wake up the church in the realm of sexual brokenness, the injustice that there's silence in the church, the injustice that so many leaders struggle with pornography in the Czech Republic, the injustice that there's such a history of brokenness and misogyny and just paganism. Like those are the things that I burn for. There's these injustices that my heart is just like, I want to do something about that. And it really goes to a deeper core of my heart that helps me have courage, helps me feel convicted, helps me do things that are, I would say, godly, obviously very human, but I find myself more convicted to step out into godly ways and godly areas more often. And that's one thing I want to communicate with you right now. Like, what do you burn for? Is it abortion? What's the injustice? Is it the fact that there's a lack of knowledge for young people to understand what's really going on biologically? Is it addiction, the fact that the church has been silent? Is it something to do in Africa, in Asia? Like start to think about like what's the burn. And the cool thing about it is there's so many things you can do around that burn that aren't actually doing that thing. That maybe that thing you aren't able to do it for some years, but you can start learning more about the history of a country or the biology of the body. You can start listening to podcasts. You can start journaling about it, talking about it, just starting to build that conviction, praying about it, reading God's word and understanding his character towards these things. Like it'll build up in you a burn. And when we have a burn, we are on fire. That's a good place for humans to be. And when people are on fire, they don't revert back to things like pornography. Like life becomes more colorful. There becomes a reason to get up in the morning, a reason to go through hard things, a reason to end the day with dignity. Okay, the second part of this, you have your burn. Like, what injustice do you want to fight? What does God put on your heart that you just can't seem to stop thinking about or caring about? The second question is what are you gifted in? I think God has gifted all of us. I would say I'm a gifted communicator. I'm a bold communicator. I'm direct. I'm thorough with how I speak. I love communicating, speaking, writing. Those are things that I believe I'm gifted in. I also have an analytical mind to be able to piece things together and make sense of things. Those are some of my giftings. And the question is how do I use those giftings for that burn? There's other people that have a burn that might be the same as mine, and their gifting is in creativity, website design, social media, marketing, video editing. They have giftings that are beyond what I'm gifted in, and you can use those gifts for that burn. Maybe it's writing poetry. Like there's so many things you can do. Maybe it's event planning and getting fundraising events together. Like I want you to know that you can be used for God's kingdom in various amounts of ways, and the injustice you're fighting doesn't have to change. You don't have to be on the ground with the boots on to do incredible work. And the reason why this ties so well into pornography recovery is because men without purpose, they just drift, they wither. You need purpose to be able to go through this life of brokenness where so often, we have inflation and things are expensive and we're tired and there's just so many things to do. If you own a home and have kids and have a family, it's like if you don't have a burn and an awareness of what your gifting is in that burn, life can just feel quite the same every day. It can feel pretty monotonous and like almost like Groundhog Day, almost like this, just this Truman Show idea. And I just want to really plead with you to consider, like, what do you burn for and what are you gifted in? Maybe you've never explored what are you gifted in, and you have these things that you just do, and you kind of think, oh, it's just the way it is. I'm just good at those things, no big deal. But it is a big deal. I want you to know that, like, if you have a gifting that you enjoy, that you're just naturally good at, that you didn't really have to develop a lot of skills in, like singing or some musical instrument, for example, like, celebrate that. Even that alone, the posture of gratitude, the reassurance that God has gifted you, like, those are huge wins. Again, that ties well into the hungry heart concept that I talk a lot about, and the idea of regulating through filling our hungry heart. Like, if you're hungry for reassurance, for purpose, for comfort, this burn and gift idea can be substantial in helping with that. So hey, as I end this episode today, I just want to, like, really have you reflect on that. What do you burn for? What injustice do you want to fight? What's that purpose that will keep you going through hard times, keep you going consistently on the straight and narrow? That's one of the biggest challenges for guys in recovery, is being consistent. And then what are you gifted in? What are you just naturally good at? What do you just naturally, like, pick up and do? And how could you piece those things together and start creating margin in your days, in your weeks, in your life to do that more regularly? And here's the kicker: don't get so caught up in the outcome of using your gifting and fighting that injustice. Enjoy the process. That's something that I am doing right now as I create this podcast episode. I don't know who's going to hear it. I don't know how many people are going to hear it. I've learned to just say, this is my burn. This is my gifting. This is obedience. There's a joy in this process of just being obedient, using my gifting, and living in the burn that God has given me. So I hope as you watch this and listen to this, it blesses you and encourages you and inspires you. Today for me is actually 9 years of freedom from pornography. I'll come out with an episode on that sometime in the near future, about just reflecting on 9 years and what that's meant, and what I've learned, and how I've been able to impact people through Christ's burn and gifting that he's given me. But I just want to leave it at that for now. If this has blessed you, if it's given you some aha moments, I really pray that you would share it with somebody. Maybe they need to hear about this burn and gift idea so that they can find that deeper God-given purpose for their life. We drop episodes on Mondays and Fridays with the Secret Habit podcast, sometimes on video, always on all the podcast platforms. And I just wonder, if you've been impacted by the show and some of the coaching that I've done, would you consider leaving a rating or a review? Would you give it a thumbs up? Would you subscribe? Would you follow? Help us to grow our impact. Help us to know that it's making an impact. Help the algorithms find more people to be impacted. We really always need more help to do this. And it just blesses us to know, like, hey, people are listening. I feel inspired to make more and better content. So, hey, thanks for tuning in today. God bless you. Lots of love.